What's up, guys? James Carter TV here to recap the Philadelphia Eagles defeating the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football in a key matchup in the NFC East. Now, for those of you that follow my channel, you know, or hopefully you know, that I released my mid-season projections for the 2015 NFL season, and in those projections, I had the Cowboys still winning the NFC East, but that was under the presumption that they won this football game. They didn't, and now they have to win next week. If they don't win next week, that's it for me. Because I think with Romo back, they can win. I mean, he's coming back, I believe, with about 5 games left on the schedule, maybe 6. They could win all of them, but I think maybe you have to leave room for 1 or 2 losses there. So you really have to win next week, or it's over. You have to at least open the door for you being 8-8, 9-7. If you lose next week, you're already gonna have 7 losses. You're putting a lot on Tony Romo to come back and do in the last, I think it's 7 games actually. I'll check in a moment. But really, this is such a bad loss for the Cowboys. And while watching this game, I thought that the Cowboys were destined to win this game. The Cowboys, when watching over this past 5-game losing streak, now 6. When watching the games, I never really bought that they were really going to win the games under Matt Castle or Brandon Weeden. While watching this game, I was like, yeah, I think the Cowboys are actually going to win this. They're playing well. They had momentum throughout the game for most of the game. They were doing a good job. They're getting some key plays, some nice plays. The rest were kind of on their side. I was like, and the Cowboys are going to escape with a victory here. But the Eagles fought back. They went to overtime. And they ended up winning the game, despite the fact that the Eagles, in terms of being undisciplined and the rest trying to screw them over, that's really what happened. I mean, it was questionable play calling or refs calling on both sides. But, you know, it was leaning more on the Eagles being screwed, in my opinion. But despite that, the Eagles, they scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime, and that was all she wrote. The Eagles and the Giants are on top of the NFC East. The Cowboys are on the bottom, looking up at everyone, looking up at the Redskins, looking up at the Giants, looking up at the Eagles. The Cowboys are still going to win their fair share of games when Tony Romo comes back. But if they don't win next week in Tampa Bay, they're in big trouble. I think they're done. I don't see a way Tony Romo can come back into this season, not have any rust whatsoever, and rattle off 7 straight wins. That's really what it may require, and I don't see that happening. So really, you have to win. Sorry about that. You have to win next week in Tampa Bay, or big troubles are coming, and I don't see you winning. I think Tampa Bay is going to beat you guys next week. I'm sorry, I do, but we'll see what happens next week in Tampa Bay. Now, as for the Philadelphia Eagles, they have a favorable homestand coming up. They host the Dolphins, and I believe they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I'm not buying it yet with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that Miami could go there and win next week. I really do. I don't think the Eagles have fixed their issues, fixed their problems. I know Sam Bradford, okay, he threw the ball pretty well today. I don't trust this guy. He was 25 of 36 for 295 yards, a touchdown. I still think there's issues offensively for this football team. I think there's issues defensively for this football team because you let Matt Castle and Darren McFadden put up 27 points. I mean, that's absurd. You can't allow that, even with how much the rest were impacting this result. You can't allow that many points to Matt Castle. And I think the Dolphins will be looking for a win next week, so I wouldn't go ahead and chalk that up as a victory for the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Cowboys, you have to have a sense of urgency. You have to come out next week, and you have to win. Let me pull up the Cowboys schedule really quick. But, man, the Dallas Cowboys, if they do not win next week in Tampa Bay, I'm going to go ahead and say stick a fork in them. And I'm sure a lot of people are already having that conversation. I'm not going to have it quite yet. It all depends on that game next week. So the Cowboys schedule from here on out. They go to Tampa. That's without Romo. Then Romo comes back at Miami versus Carolina. That's not easy. At Washington. That's not easy. At Green Bay, you have to allow yourself the possibility of losing a couple of these games versus the Jets, at the Bills, versus the Redskins. I mean, is there one team? There's 2 teams that are under 500 that you're facing. Actually, 3. 3 teams in the Redskins, the Bucks, and the Dolphins, but are you going to sweep the Redskins this season? Hopefully, with Romo, you do. You're going to need it. There's some difficult games here. At Buffalo in December, I really wanted to pick the Cowboys to go to the playoffs, but they needed to win this game. They didn't win this game, and things are looking bleak, bleak, bleak for the Dallas Cowboys. Really quickly, let me pull up the Philadelphia Eagles schedule, and we will dissect that really quick, and then we will be out of here. All right, so the Philadelphia Eagles, as I said, next week, they host the Miami Dolphins. I don't think this is going to be a very easy game. Now, you guys may win, but I don't see it being very easy. I like the Dolphins to win. This is what I really do. Next, you host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You guys can win that game. You go to Detroit. You guys can win that game. You go to New England. Forget it. You guys host the Bills. Toss up. You guys host the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals win. You guys host the Redskins. I think you win that one. And you guys go to New York Giants. That's looking more and more like it's going to be for the NFC East. Now, let's look at the Giants really quick, though, because that's a team we can't forget about in terms of this NFC East picture. And their schedule will determine a lot. And I think their schedule is very difficult. And I think that's why I'm not saying they're going to win this division. Next week, they host New England. I think they're going to lose. They have a bye week. The week after that, they go to Washington. I think they're going to lose. The week after that, they host the New York Jets. The New York Jets, because this is a dual home game, really. I'm not convinced they're going to win that game. They go to Miami. I'm not convinced they're going to win that game. They host the Panthers. I'm not convinced they're going to win that game. They go to the Vikings. I'm not convinced they're going to win that game. You see a trend here? These are difficult games. I mean, they showed a graphic on the NBC broadcast, like 0.668 strength of schedule remaining. That's tough. These are tough teams, especially when you have to go to a lot of these teams. The easier teams you have to face, you have to go there. So you would say the Redskins is easy, the Dolphins is easy, the Vikings are easy. You have to go there. And the Vikings aren't easy at all, but you have to go there. So those easy games, when you're going there, when you're on the road, they become very tricky. So I'm not buying the Giants winning this NFC East at all. It is still wide open. We will see what happens in the upcoming weeks. Until next time, James Carter TV, I'm out. Peace.